Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I'm your host, Stan Rattan, and this is a Blue Collar Wine Show where I try to help you spend your, I do help you spend your wine dollars wisely. How do I do that? I review the wines, taste them, review them, and then it's up to you. I review, it's up to you. It's your palate, whatever you like. Hopefully you're figuring out my palate. And, like I said, I have a retail palate. I have to sell wine to customers. I have to understand their palate, and if they don't like it, they come back and tell me. And I do not like them coming back and telling me they don't like it. So I work really hard at finding the right wines. My son Micah is helping me again today. Ups to Micah for being here. It's really nice to have an audience. Or not an audience necessarily, but somebody to talk to besides the lens. And both Micah and I are excited about the Seahawks going to the NFC Championship game once again. I feel sorry for Green Bay. We talked about this on the last episode. They're in for a real stinger. And so, I think the last two games Seattle played Green Bay, they beat them. Of course, there was that controversial, call, the end zone, back 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But, the beginning of this year, they legitimately beat them. Green Bay didn't. I don't even think it was close, was it? Anyway, Seattle's peaking right now, which is perfect. Anyway, I just wanted to say that my son has always been a very loyal Seahawks fan. I gave up on him a little bit with Mike Holmgren. I did not like Mike Holmgren.
No.
I still like the Seahawks, but I had trouble with Mike Holmgren. He's not the genius that everybody says he is. We were just talking about a play he made when we went to a game at the Husky Stadium. It was a stupid, bonehead game. I think that's when Micah started understanding why I didn't like Mike Holmgren. But anyway, we watched the Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Seattle, I wasn't really rooting for Pittsburgh, but I was kind of pissing Mike off because I was, Anyway, that Seahawks should have never lost that Super Bowl. Right. That was all about the Zebras. They even apologized later. Yeah. So anyway, this could be the third Seahawks Super Bowl win in February 1st. That's how much confidence I have. All right, we're going to do Italian. I did Barbera a couple episodes ago. Now we're going to kind of go all over Italy. I did Australia in the last episode, because I'm trying to get love for Australian wines. We don't have to work on Italy. Everybody loves Italian wines. But we're going to diversify a little bit, kind of go all over the place in Italy, because a lot of people kind of get stuck on a Chianti or Barbera, which, I love Barbera, as we found out in the last episode, great wines. A lot of people like Amarone, which are expensive, Barolos, which are expensive, Barbarescos are expensive. There's a lot of expensive wines out of Italy, even in Chianti. But I think some people, and you could be one of them, doesn't necessarily expand in your horizons with Italian wines. Now, a lot of people are going with Salice, Salentino, Negramaro. A lot of people are going with Nero Diavla from Puglia. There's a lot of people going in those directions. I know that those are starting to expand, but Italy has a lot to offer. And one of the things they have to offer is Dolcetto from Piedmont. Actually, this is from Alba in Piedmont. Alba is Cuneo. Yeah. Anyway, 2011 Carino Dolcetto di Alba. This rolls in at $17. Get a little close up there, Micah. So you don't have to do the remote. This is I could get spoiled. Now my son works very hard starting in about April 1st, so he won't get to help me anymore on these, but got it? Yep. All right. So Dolcetto is an interesting grape. It's a lot of grape that maybe a lot of you people don't experiment with, but it's not as high in acid as Nebbiolo, which is the grape behind Barbaresco and Barolo. And I like Dolcetto. It's one of those wines that a lot of people just don't experiment with. $17, I understand, $17. Do I want to experiment for $17? Well, hopefully you have a wine guy out there. This is North Berkeley Imports. takes care of this wine. Let's see what we get on the nose. This is pretty interesting. Almost has like a sweet, like baking spice thing. Like somebody put what, nutmeg and cinnamon on tobacco. That's what I'm getting. A lot of red flowers like lavender and, well, that's purple, right? Lilac. A lot of lilac this one. It's a really interesting aromatics. A lot of plum. I'm getting a huge amount of plums, like, really good purple plums, like really ripe. And some blackberry. Let's see what we get on the palate. Did I say the vintage? Yeah, I said 11. Almost has like a spritziness to it. Like, it's not spritzy. Like, it doesn't have bubbles, but it has like an edge of it, which is really curious to me. I get a lot of bark, crushed rock, blackberries, and plums. I mean, it's just all day. Very smooth. There's a little bit of acid, but it's certainly not as much as a Barolo or a Barbaresco. It's like one of those lines that's very powerful, very smooth. It's not hot at all, but it has all that crushed rock, kind of old world stuff going, a little bit of baked earth. Wow, it's a good bottle of wine. 17 bucks. There's even a little roasted meat characteristic to this one, which I find very intriguing. What I really like about this is the fruit blends well with the minerals. I mean, the minerals and fruit really kind of integrate very well. So you get that old world, but you get the new world. I think there's a lot of you that's going to like this wine because you're saying, oh wow, okay, so I understand old world now because I get that minerality, I get all that stuff. But at the same time, you have enough fruit where you're going, yeah, I really like this. It's really delicious. I'm going to go A- on that one. Good bottle of wine. Good bottle of wine. So North Berkeley Imports, if you're looking for it, if you go to your wine shop and they say, well, what are you talking about? Hopefully they get, North Berkeley is an incredible importer. They do a really good job. I like them a lot. I think I discovered that at a tasting event down in Seattle where they were trying to decide what they were going to bring in, and I just fell in love with that wine. And I understand why. It's been a while since I've had it. Now we're moving on to the Sabazio 2011 Rosso di Montepulciano, which is a DOC near Abruzzo. $15. Good? That went? Got it. Okay. Next I have a cameraman telling me where to move that bottle. Okay, this is, we read this earlier. 85% Pugnolio Gentile, 10% Merlot, and 5% Caniolo Nero. Hopefully I didn't butcher those names. But I'm telling you, in my wine shop, if you come in and say, can you find me a good $12 Merlot? I'm not going to laugh at you. It's just, it's the way I am. You can butcher the name, it's okay. Hopefully you learn how to say it later, which I try to do. But if you butcher it, it's okay. I'm not into that whole, you have to say it exactly right sort of thing. I have a friend that helps me do that already, and he's more than willing to let me know when I say something incorrect. Thanks, Alan. Alright, let's see what we get on the nose. So this one, goes into that It's on the edge of barnyard, but not there. It doesn't go barnyardy, but it's close. Yeah, this one wants to be poopy, but doesn't go poopy. Yeah. Get a little cinnamon, getting a little currants. A little bit of red flowers coming through. Did I say 15 bucks? I did, didn't I? 15 bucks. This is very perfumey. And, you know, I've explained this before. Perfume means that the aromatics pop out a little bit stronger. Almost has a soapy component. There's definitely some bark. I get some like, but not like beauty bark, more like, you know, like old bark, you know, that's been hanging around for a while. A little bit of licorice. I'm very interested in this wine because those are varietals. Pugnolo Gentile, not a varietal. You know, like Italy is, when you're doing the sommelier class, Italy is like one of the toughest regions. Like they have a zillion grapes, so you know we run across ones. I'm familiar with Caniolo Nero, but not Pugnolo Gentile. Not familiar with that grape. Let's see what we get on the palate. That's a really good wine. Now, that has a lot of fruit. For an Italian wine, that has a lot of fruit. A lot of blackberries, a lot of currants. I'm getting them all day. Very round, but not like jammy, but more like very delicious, very ripe fruits, but they're all in check. They have good acidity behind them. Nice solid red flower components. The bark is there underneath. A little bit of minerality on the finish, but this is a very smooth, delicious wine. I mean, 2 in a row that you could break a New World wine drinker into Old World wines. Old World being Spain, Italy, France, you know, all those areas, Austria, Germany, all Old World, whereas Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, United States, those are New World, Canada, New World wines. But generally, Old World wines have a lot more rusticity to them. This is not what I would call rustic wine, although the finish, you get a little bit of rust, believe it or not, a little bit of rust, minerality, but there's enough fruit that I think people would really gravitate toward this wine. Who? Sabazio. Oh, Marchesi Antinori. Okay, there you go. Young's Market has this wine. Really good wine. I'm going to go A- on that one too. Great bottle of wine. Like it. Now we're going into the big bad boy of Chianti, and this one is not cheap by any stretch, but it's also not expensive, what I would call an expensive wine. It's $37. It's all beat up. This one's been in my cellar for a little bit. This is a Marche Antinori Chianti Classico Reserva 2007, and this rolls in at $37. Cameraman, let's do it. Am I good? Perfect. See the label? Mm-hmm. All right. So I looked in the catalog. They're on the 2009 vintage right now, so I've had this for a little while, so I'm excited to try it. $37. You know, that's a little bit of change. This has a classic nose. This is one of those noses where I smell it and I go, you know, this is an older wine. I love that. I love that kind of dampened down kind of oak, but it's not woody. By the way, the tears on this, or the legs, are just like, whew, they're all over the place. Get a little bit of menthol on the nose. A lot of black currants, just loads of black currants. A lot of tobacco. Licorice coming through. Violets coming through big time. Just a hint of barnyard underneath, but not very much. I mean, very little. You'd have to work at it as hard as I do to get that out. But it has depth. I mean, you know, price doesn't determine quality all the time. But usually the price does mean that they put a little bit more new oak or whatever they did that made the price go up. $37 is, you know, I mean, not that much really when, you know, there's so many wines out there for $50, $60, $100, $140, whatever it is. What are the Molly Dukers are all, that we tasted, are all in the $90 range. Micah we did a, Molly Duker sent me a bunch of samples. We all went through them. It was a great tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. But, I mean, all expensive wines. Let's see what we get on the palate. Incredible structure. I mean, this wine will age another 10 to 15 years easily. I love the spice, the cinnamon, mostly cinnamon. What I'm getting, kind of a cinnamon imperial thing coming up underneath, with the black currants. The oak is there, but it's very subdued. Black olive, tobacco, violets. They're all there. It's very layered. Very layered, and then it finishes with a little leather, minerality, crushed rock. Wow. Gets kind of serious on the back end. The tannins dry up the mouth quite a bit. I really need a steak with this one, big time. Big time. Steak, lamb, one of those things. Just give my mouth some savory to match the savory of this big bad boy. I'm going A on this one. I mean, this is a crazy good. And you get that kind of old school finish. It kind of lingers on the back end. The black olive, the currants, the wood, it's all there, but very balanced, very well structured, nice, beautiful bottle of wine. I have to tell you, good job, A, on that one. But they're all good. They were all good. Certainly not a bad one in the bunch. So expand your palate horizons. Don't just stick to Chianti. Try Dolcetto. Try some Montepulciano wines. Try some different wines from Italy. Remember, wine is not a mystery. It's just fermented grape juice. Trust your palate. Don't let anybody ever tell you what you should or shouldn't like, but always be willing to experiment and try new things. If we do that together, we can take the snob out of wine.